So today I'm going to take you through 5 movements that I use to screen runners, and you can do them to yourself as a self-assessment so you can see areas you need to improve on and also areas where you're strong. If you want to print out the scoring sheet, make sure you click the link below, download that freebie so you know to score yourself from the left and right side. Plus it's going to walk you through if you fail a test, which I'm going to talk to you about in that freebie. Then it will talk to you about what you should do to get yourself stronger or more mobile so you don't fail that test. A failed test just means that maybe you don't have enough stability or mobility, and that can cause compensations down the road, which can lead to injuries. So take these movements pretty seriously. Use them as a guide so you know where you need to focus in areas where you're good. All right, so to get started, the first one you're gonna do is a single leg squat. So you're gonna have your hands on your hips, one foot in front, and all you're gonna do is squat down as far as you can and squat up. To score yourself, do this in front of a mirror or record yourself so you can kind of take a look at what's going on versus looking at from your eyes down here. So use a mirror in front. So hands on your hips, you're gonna squat down and up. So I'm really looking to see if my knees caving in. Are my hands staying level or are they dropping? Is that pelvis dropping? Are my shoulders maybe shifting laterally so they're not staying on top of my hips? How's my balance doing and how is my ankle doing? So that's the first one, the single leg squat. You're just gonna do a couple here on the right, and then you're gonna go to the left side and compare it with that scoring sheet. Number 2 is a swing test. So in order to do the swing test, I want you to hold on to a wall here, and you're gonna swing your foot forward and backwards. So you can record yourself from the side or have a mirror to the side of you. And what you're looking for is that hip mobility and how the low back is responding to that hip and extension. So a failed test is going to be when your back overarches or overextends to get that hip into extension versus it coming just from the hip itself. Other compensations, if the hip is tight, maybe hip flexor is tight or the joint is tight, you're gonna rotate that foot to the side to get that hip into more extension versus it just being straight from the hip or overarching your back, okay? Number 3 you're gonna do is the single leg bridge. So laying on your back here, hands are on your hips, one foot's up in the air, and you're gonna lift up, hold, and then down. And you're gonna do this 10 times. And what you're looking for is, I want you to pretend like you have a glass of water on your pelvis in the middle, and you wanna make sure that that doesn't drop. So you really wanna make sure if your hands are on your pelvis, they stay equal. One is not dropping, and they're staying pretty equal there. That's the biggest thing you're gonna look for. Other compensations would be that your low back is arching to lift your butt up versus it coming straight from your glutes. So maybe your hamstring is tightening up. That could mean some hamstring strength, some hip stability, or your low back is starting to hurt or ache or tighten up, and that says you're using that low back to lift yourself versus it coming from your glutes. And again, I talked to you about this through the freebie that is linked below. The 4th test is to test your ankle mobility, which is very important with any runners of any experience. So you can either stand about 4 to 5 inches from a wall, or I'll use the foam roller just to show you. So you want to keep your heel on the ground, toes facing forward. I'm just going to go in a staggered stance here. And all I'm trying to do is bring that knee forward so it touches the foam roller or the wall, whatever you have in front of you, without lifting that heel up. If I have to lift that heel up or I can't get my knee forward enough to the wall or foam roller, that's a failed test because your ankle is very tight. So again, you'll do this on both sides. Just to compare, I can already feel my left side is a little bit tighter. It's still a pass test. but it feels a little bit tighter than my right, so I'll make sure I work on that. The last test, you're checking your big toe mobility. So you're in a seated position. You're not moving your toes except with your hand. So I'm gonna lift my big toe straight up, leaving those other four toes down on the ground. Lift that big toe straight up, and it should go about 30 degrees. So if you look at a right angle is 90, half of that's 45, and just a little bit below that. Best way to do that also is just to compare to both sides. Does it feel any different? You should get pretty good mobility with that big toe, and that's really important for the push-off. If you don't have enough big toe mobility, you'll start to have compensations in your feet, which can move up the kinetic chain to your ankles, your knees, your hips, and your low back. So this is very important to check your big toe mobility and just compare that to both sides. As you pull up the big toe, you're not helping your hand, but pull up the big toe, leaving the other four digits on the ground. And that concludes the movement screen that I walk all my runners through. And despite where that injury is, and once you know what you need to work on, then you can start to take that and start to plan out ways to make yourself stronger, more mobile, and really build your foundations for being able to build speed and strength on top of those foundations, so you are running with less injuries and running more efficiently.